On a stormy Georgia night, a little girl's heart and a dying dog's courage sparked a miracle that changed everything. Hey, y'all, welcome to our channel. If you love tales of hope, bravery, and the bonds that heal us, hit that subscribe button and join our crew. This one's gonna warm your soul. Let's dive into Sophie, Daisy, and a story that proves love can bloom even in the darkest rain. Rain lashed against the windshield of Daniel Harper's faded blue pickup truck like a relentless drummer, turning the winding backroads of rural Georgia into a murky haze of shadow and wet. Thunder growled low in the distance, and jagged bolts of lightning tore through the night sky, casting fleeting light over Old Mill Road, a forgotten stretch flanked by pine trees and overgrown ditches. Inside the cab, 6-year-old Sophie Harper pressed her freckled face against the cold window, her breath fogging the glass in tiny, fleeting clouds. Her hazel eyes, sharp and inquisitive, darted across the darkness beyond the truck's flickering headlights. She wore a yellow raincoat 2 sizes too big, her mom's old one, its sleeves dangling past her small hands. "Daddy, stop the truck. Stop," she shouted suddenly, her voice piercing the storm's roar with a clarity that jolted Daniel's heart into his throat. He jammed the brakes, the truck skidding a hair on the slick asphalt before lurching to a stop. "What's wrong, Peanut?" he asked, his voice rough with concern as he leaned forward, squinting through the downpour. Sophie's small finger jabbed toward the roadside, where a garbage dump sprawled, a chaotic pile of soggy trash bags, splintered furniture, and rusted cans illuminated by the truck's beams. "Something's moving out there, I think it's hurt," she said, her tone urgent, almost pleading. Daniel scanned the mess, seeing only rain and refuse at first, but the tremble in Sophie's voice, those wide eyes so much like Laura's, pushed him to act. He fished the flashlight from the glove box. It scratched metal cool against his palm. "Stay put and lock the doors," he instructed, tugging his worn denim jacket tighter as he stepped into the deluge. The wind hit him like a shove, whipping rain into his face and tugging at his hood as he slogged through ankle-deep mud toward the heap. His work boots squelched with every step, and the flashlight beam jittered across the trash, broken bottles glinting, a shredded tire looming, until it snagged on a faint twitch beneath a torn blue tarp. He grabbed the edge, the plastic slick and cold, and yanked it back. What he saw stopped him cold. A German shepherd lay crumpled among the garbage, her black and tan coat matted with mud and streaks of blood. Her ribs rose and fell in shallow, uneven gasps, and her swollen belly, round and tight, revealed she was heavily pregnant, teetering on the edge of life. Her amber eyes flickered open for a moment, dull with pain but alive, locking onto his with a quiet, desperate trust. Sophie wasn't your average 6-year-old. With her tangle of auburn curls and a stillness that belied her age, she carried an old soul's sensitivity, a gift for spotting the unseen, the hurting. She'd once spent hours coaxing a stray tabby from under their trailer's porch, naming it Whiskers and crying when it wandered off a week later. 2 years ago, her world had cracked open when her mom, Laura Harper, died in a car crash the sheriff's office called a tragic fluke. Wet roads, a sharp curve, no witnesses. Laura had been a park ranger, her days filled with tracking deer trails and snapping photos of Georgia's wild corners, her nights with Sophie on her lap, teaching her the names of stars. After the accident, Daniel had stepped into both roles, his lumber mill shift stretching long to keep their single-wide trailer on Peachtree Lane. Sophie bore her grief in silence, scribbling notes to Laura in a sunflower yellow journal her mom had given her for her 4th birthday, its pages now creased and precious. Around her neck hung a tiny gold locket with Laura's photo, a keepsake she clutched in her sleep. Daniel, 35, wore his years in the lines etched around his hazel eyes and the calluses roughening his hands from years of hauling timber. The mill paid enough to cover rent and groceries, but emergencies, like Sophie's bout with pneumonia last winter, drained their savings dry. His boss, Hank Grayson, a gruff but fair man, had cut him slack after Laura's death. letting him duck out for Sophie's school events or counseling sessions with Ms. Rachel, the kind-eyed therapist at Clover Elementary. But that patience was fraying. Hank's last warning, "We need you reliable." Harper, still echoed in Daniel's ears. Their neighbors on Peachtree Lane painted a small-town tapestry. Mrs. Evelyn Carter, a 68-year-old widow with a warm smile and a knack for pecan pies, watched Sophie after school, her trailer smelling of cinnamon and old books. Next door, Carl Jenkins, a retired mechanic with a permanent scowl, griped about everything, kids' laughter, loose dogs, his complaints to the township a near-weekly ritual. "Sophie, get back in the truck," Daniel yelled, his voice swallowed by the howling wind. But she was already out. Her yellow raincoat a vivid streak against the dark as she splashed through puddles, boots sinking into the mire. She knelt beside the dog, heedless of the mud soaking her jeans, and placed a gentle hand on its matted head. "She's hurt real bad, Daddy," she whispered, her voice trembling but steady. Then something uncanny happened. The dog, who'd been still as death moments before, lifted her head at Sophie's touch. A soft whimper escaped her, and her tongue flicked weakly across Sophie's hand. "She likes me." Sophie's face broke into a smile, a rare, radiant thing that hadn't graced her features since Laura's funeral. "We have to help her, she's got babies in her tummy." Rain pelted Daniel's face, soaking through his jacket as he stood frozen, his mind racing. Logic screamed at him. They were stretched thin, barely scraping by some months. His shifts leaving little time for extras. This dog could be diseased, dangerous, or beyond saving. What if she died in the night, leaving Sophie with another loss to carry? But then he saw Laura in Sophie's pleading gaze, Laura, who'd once spent a week nursing a half-dead raccoon back to health in their garage, her hands gentle and sure. "Please, Daddy," Sophie said, her voice cracking, tears mingling with the rain on her cheeks. "She'll die if we leave her here. She's cold and scared, just like Mommy was when." She trailed off, but the words landed like a blow. Sophie rarely spoke of Laura's death, her grief a silent shadow she carried alone. To hear her draw that line now, between her mom's last moments and this broken creature, unraveled Daniel's defenses. "Okay, Peanut," he said, his throat tight. "Let's get her to the truck. But careful, she's real weak." He shrugged off his jacket, draping it over the dog's trembling form. She was shockingly light despite her swollen belly, all bones beneath her sodden fur, and she didn't flinch as he lifted her, cradling her like something fragile and priceless. Sophie darted ahead, yanking open the back door of the truck. They fashioned a nest from an old quilt stashed behind the seat, laying the dog down gently. Her breaths came in shallow rasps, each one a faint thread of life. "Get in the front. Soph, she needs room," Daniel said, wiping rain from his face. But Sophie shook her head, climbing into the back instead, settling cross-legged beside the dog. "She needs me. Daddy. She's scared." Her small hand rested on the shepherd's flank, stroking gently. "It's okay, girl. We're gonna take care of you now." The drive back to Peachtree Lane was a tense blur, Daniel's eyes flicking to the rearview mirror to check the dog's faint breathing. Sophie whispered a stream of promises. "You'll love our house, it's small but warm. I'll share my blanket. And your babies can sleep in my old toy chest, I don't play with it much anymore." The trailer emerged from the dark, its sagging porch lit by a single, flickering bulb. Daniel carried the dog inside, mud trailing across the linoleum, while Sophie raced ahead, flipping on lights and dragging towels from the bathroom. "Put her here, Daddy." She'd piled blankets in the living room corner near their threadbare couch, a cozy nook by the heater vent. Daniel eased her down, noting how her breath seemed shallower, more labored. "She needs a vet," he muttered, pulling out his phone to call Dr. Maggie Ellis, Clover County's only veterinarian and Laura's high school best friend. Maggie had stuck around after Laura's death, dropping by with little gifts for Sophie, a stuffed owl after a field trip, a birdhouse kit they'd built together last spring. The line crackled with storm static. "Daniel? What's going on?" Maggie's voice cut through the noise. "Found a pregnant German shepherd by the dump, she's in rough shape. Can you come?" A pause, then, "River Bridge is flooded, I'm stuck across town. Can you bring her here?" Daniel glanced at the dog, her eyes half closed. "She won't survive the trip." Maggie sighed. "All right, I'll walk you through it. Check her breathing first, count the rises." The call dropped mid-sentence, the storm killing the signal. "Phone's out, Soph," Daniel said, kneeling beside her. Tears brimmed in her eyes. "Is she gonna die, Daddy?" He rested a hand on her shoulder, feeling her tremble. "I don't know, Peanut, but we'll do everything we can, okay?" Sophie nodded solemnly, then said, "She needs a name, it helps them fight harder." Daniel managed a faint smile at her logic. "What's your pick?" She studied the dog, her face scrunching in thought. "Daisy. 'Cause she's tough like the daisies that grow through the sidewalk cracks by school." "Daisy it is." Daniel agreed, and set to work. Warm water, antiseptic from their first aid kit, a prayer she'd hold on till morning. The trailer on Peachtree Lane wasn't much to look at, a single wide with chipped beige siding. A porch that creaked underfoot, and a roof that leaked in heavy rains. 8 years ago, Daniel and Laura had scraped together every penny to buy it, dreaming of a fixer-upper they'd make their own. Back then, it buzzed with life, Laura's laughter echoing from the kitchen, her camera gear strewn across the table as she planned trips to snap photos of Georgia's swamps and forests. After her crash, the silence settled in like a guest who wouldn't leave, broken only by Sophie's soft humming or the TV's mindless chatter. That stormy night, Daisy's arrival stirred the air, a fragile thread of something new weaving into their quiet grief. Daniel worked methodically, dipping a towel in warm water to wipe mud from Daisy's fur. Her coat was a patchwork of filth and blood, but beneath it, he glimpsed the sleek lines of a German shepherd built for strength she'd lost to starvation and neglect. He offered her water from a chipped cereal bowl, which she lapped at weakly, her tongue trembling with effort. He tried a few scraps of leftover meatloaf, but she turned her head away. Too spent to eat. As he cleaned, his fingers brushed a scar on her ear, not a jagged tear from a fight, but a neat, deliberate notch, like a cattle tag. His jaw tightened, a slow burn of anger rising. Someone had owned her, marked her, then left her to die in the trash. "Who did this to you, girl?" he murmured, tracing the mark. Daisy's eyes cracked open, meeting his with a flicker of recognition. A quiet trust that hit him square in the chest. Sophie had fallen asleep beside Daisy, her small frame curled into the blanket pile, one hand resting protectively on the dog's flank. Her raincoat lay crumpled nearby, mud streaking its hem. Daniel draped a crocheted throw, Mrs. Evelyn's Christmas gift last year, over her, too tender-hearted to move her to bed. The storm battered the trailer, rattling windows and sending drafts through the thin walls, but inside, a tentative calm held. Daniel brewed a pot of coffee, the bitter scent grounding him as he settled into the recliner. Sleep wasn't an option, he had to watch Daisy, make sure her shallow breaths didn't stop before Maggie could get there. In the dim lamplight, he studied the pair, Sophie's auburn curls spilling over the blanket. Daisy's faint rise and fall, and wondered what twist of fate had brought this dying dog to their doorstep. Was it dumb luck, or something Laura might have called destiny, her voice teasing as she'd point out constellations to Sophie? Dawn crept in with a weak, gray light, the storm finally tapering to a drizzle. Daniel jolted awake at the slam of a car door. He dozed off, his neck stiff and aching from the chair's awkward angle. Sophie was already up, kneeling by Daisy with a plastic cup of water. "She drank some, Daddy," she reported, her voice bright with hope. "And she licked my hand again." Daniel rubbed sleep from his eyes. disoriented. He'd been certain Daisy wouldn't make it through the night, but there she was, eyes open, watching Sophie with a faint spark that hadn't been there before. Her head rested on the blanket, but her gaze followed the girl's every move. The doorbell buzzed, and Maggie Ellis stepped inside, her vet bag slung over one shoulder, rain dripping from her green parka. Her auburn hair, streaked with premature gray from years of late-night calls, was pulled into a messy bun. "Roads are a nightmare, sorry I couldn't get here sooner," she said, shaking off the wet. Sophie piped up, "This is Daisy. She's gonna have babies." Maggie smiled, crouching beside the dog. "Hey, I remember you, kiddo, from that turtle we tried to save last summer. Right?" Sophie nodded, then added fiercely, "But Daisy won't die like the turtle did. She promised me." Maggie glanced at Daniel, a silent question in her eyes, then turned to Daisy. Her hands moving with practiced care, checking pulse, gums, the swollen belly. "She's severely malnourished, dehydrated," Maggie said after a thorough exam, her tone measured but soft. "Old injuries, ribs healed wrong, a limp in her hind leg, and that ear marks from a breeder, but not a reputable one. Looks like a tag from sketchy operations." She paused, feeling Daisy's abdomen. "But the pups, they're alive, I can feel movement." Sophie's face lit up like a sunrise. "The babies are okay?" "They're hanging in there," Maggie confirmed. "But Daisy's weak. Giving birth in this state could be dangerous, for her and them. You can help her, right?" Sophie's eyes welled up, her voice small but insistent. "You can make her better?" Maggie softened, brushing a curl from Sophie's forehead. "I'll do everything I can, sweetie. Promise." She pulled out a bag of fluids, syringes, and a tube of nutrient gel from her bag. "First, we get some strength into her," she said, setting up in 4-line with quick, deft movements. Sophie hovered, wide-eyed. "What's that for? Why's it go in her leg?" Her fear shifted to curiosity, as if knowing the process could anchor Daisy to life. Maggie explained patiently, "This gives her water and food straight into her blood, so she doesn't have to work for it," and Sophie nodded, absorbing every word. Daniel pulled Maggie aside as she adjusted the drip. "That ear mark, seen it before?" Maggie's face darkened, her voice dropping. "Yeah, it matches tags from a dog fighting bust last month, 40 miles north, near Grayson County. Breeding females had similar notches. Could be a puppy mill or worse." Daniel's stomach twisted, bile rising. "She escaped?" "Maybe," Maggie said, glancing at Daisy. "Or dumped when she got pregnant, fighters don't need moms to be. She's a damn miracle to be alive this long, carrying a litter." Daniel watched Sophie stroke Daisy's head, whispering, "You're so brave." The thought of her enduring that hell, used, discarded, fueled a quiet rage he hadn't felt since Laura's funeral, when he'd punched a wall in the empty garage. "What now?" he asked. "We stabilize her," Maggie said. "Fluids, nutrients, hope she holds on till the pups come." Then Daisy tensed, her body shuddering, a low whine escaping her throat. "What's wrong?" Sophie's voice rose, panic edging in. Maggie checked again, pressing gently on Daisy's belly. "Labor's starting, stress might have kicked it off early." "Is that bad?" Daniel asked, watching Daisy's sides twitch with faint contractions. "Not ideal," Maggie admitted. "She's too weak, barely has the energy to breathe, let alone deliver. But these pups are coming. Ready or not." She turned to Sophie. "Can you be my special helper? Sit by her head, keep her calm, talk to her." Sophie straightened, nodding solemnly. "I can do that." She settled by Daisy, her voice soft but steady. "You're safe now, Daisy. We're right here. Maggie transformed the living room into a makeshift birthing suite, spreading clean towels from the bathroom. Filling a bowl with warm water, arranging her supplies within reach. First births take time, she warned, especially with a mom this week. Could be hours. The clock ticked on. Morning bleeding into afternoon. Daisy's contractions grew stronger, her panting heavy, but her strength waned with each one. By noon, she lay heaving, sides slick with sweat. No pups yet. Is something wrong? Daniel asked quietly, pulling Maggie aside while Sophie stayed focused on Daisy. Maggie's frown deepened. She's struggling, too exhausted to push. If this drags on, we could lose them all, her included. Sophie's hope was a light Daniel couldn't let flicker out. What can we do? He pressed. Maggie hesitated, then pulled a vial from her bag. I've got an oxytocin shot, boosts contractions. It's risky in her condition, could strain her heart, but it's our best shot. She injected it, and within 30 minutes, Daisy's efforts intensified. Her whines sharper. It's working. Maggie said, relief breaking through as the first pup emerged, a tiny, dark bundle still in its sack. She tore it open, rubbing the pup with a towel. But it lay still, lifeless. Why's it not moving? Sophie's voice trembled, tears spilling over. Sometimes the first one's too weak, Maggie said gently, working faster. It might have been stuck too long. Please, let me try, Sophie begged, her hands outstretched. Maggie paused, then placed the pup in her small palms, its limp form dwarfed by her fingers. Sophie's tears fell onto its damp fur as she whispered. Wake up, little one. Your mommy fought so hard for you, please breathe. She rubbed its chest with her thumb, mimicking Maggie's motions. Daniel held his breath, the room silent except for Daisy's labored panting. Then, a twitch, a feeble squeak, barely audible but alive. It's alive. Sophie cried, her face transforming with wonder. Daddy, Maggie, look. Maggie took the pup, checking it with awe. Heartbeat stabilizing. Sophie, you saved it, you're a miracle worker. For more pups followed over the next hour, each a tiny testament to Daisy's resilience. The second came fast. Squirming and squeaking, a black and tan fighter Maggie dubbed a little champ. The third and fourth slid out with sharp cries, their small paws flailing as Maggie cleared their airways. The fifth, larger with a distinctive white patch on its chest, was slower to breathe, its stillness sparking a fresh panic in Sophie. Wake up, please, she whispered, her voice a soft plea over its damp fur. A mighty squeak answered her, its legs kicking as life took hold. 5 healthy pups, Maggie marveled, placing them beside Daisy on the towel nest. A damn miracle, considering what she's been through. Daisy, exhaustion etched in every line of her body, nuzzled each one, her amber eyes glowing with a mother's weary pride despite her frailty. The days that followed settled into a rhythm of care and quiet joy. Daisy grew stronger with each sunrise, though her ribs still jutted beneath her coat despite the special diet Maggie prescribed, high-calorie kibble mixed with bits of boiled chicken Daniel cooked up. Her maternal instincts kicked in fierce and fast, she rarely left her pup's side except for brief trips outside, coaxed by Daniel with gentle words. Sophie became her constant companion. Waking early to count the litter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as if they might vanish in the night. After school, she'd drop her backpack by the door and settle beside the nest. Chattering about her day, Ms. Rachel's art class, the tadpoles they'd found by the creek. The pups, named by Sophie with a 6-year-old's earnest flair, began to show their sparks, Scout the first. A fighter, Raven quiet and watchful, Sunny golden-marked and wiggly, Thunder loud and bold, and Pearl white-chested, Sophie's shadow. On the 5th day, while Sophie was at school, Daniel took the chance to give Daisy a proper bath. She'd been skittish around him at first, flinching at sudden moves, but her trust grew, her head resting on his knee as he worked shampoo through her fur. Beneath the grime, he found another mark on her shoulder, more intricate than the ear notch, a curved pattern etched into her skin. Frowning, he snapped a photo with his phone and texted Maggie, "Found another mark on Daisy, know this one?" Her reply came fast, "Not good. Coming over after clinic. Don't tell Sophie yet." The serious tone left Daniel uneasy, his gut twisting as he dried Daisy and settled her back with her pups, who squeaked indignantly at her brief absence. That night, after Sophie drifted off, only after Daniel promised to check the pups every hour, Maggie arrived, her face etched with worry. They sat at the kitchen table, far from Sophie's room. A pot of coffee brewing between them. "That shoulder mark," Maggie said quietly, "it's from Victor Slade, a breeder 50 miles west, near Macon. Runs a legit German Shepherd operation. But rumors tie him to fighting rings. Cops raided one 3 weeks ago, found dogs with matching tags." Daniel's jaw clenched. "Daisy's one of his?" "Likely," Maggie said, glancing toward the living room where Daisy lay. "Breeding female, maybe escaped during the raid, or dumped when she got pregnant. She's a survivor, Dan." Maggie hesitated, then added, "I reported it to Officer Tom Riley, he led that bust. He's digging into Slade quietly." Daniel nodded, unease settling deeper. "Someone's looking for her?" "Could be. Those pups, if they're purebred from his stock, could be worth thousands to him." The thought chilled Daniel, Daisy and her babies as commodities, hunted for profit. "What do we do?" "Keep her safe," Maggie said. "Tom'll let us know if Slade's sniffing around." Next morning, as Daniel flipped pancakes, Sophie's Saturday treat, he spotted a gray sedan parked across Peachtree Lane, engine off, windows tinted dark. No one got out. His neck prickled with unease. "Soph, eat in the living room with Daisy," he said, keeping his tone light. She grinned, oblivious, carrying her plate to sit by the nest. Once she was out of sight, he called Maggie. "There's a car watching, gray sedan, been there 20 minutes. Don't go out," she said sharply. "I'm calling Tom." By the time he peeked again, it was gone, but the feeling lingered. Then his phone rang, unknown number. He answered to silence, just breathing on the line. 5 minutes later, it rang again. "I believe you have something of ours," a smooth male voice said. Cool and clipped. "That German Shepherd and her pups, they're valuable. $5,000 for them. Good money for a mill worker raising a kid alone." Daniel's blood turned to ice, they knew his name. "His job, Sophie." "Wrong number," he snapped, hanging up. It rang again, he silenced it, blocked the number. His hands shook as he locked the doors, checked the windows. That night, he called Tom direct. "Got a call, offered cash for Daisy. Knew too much about us." Tom's voice was steady but grave. "Patrols are up. Lock everything. Call if it happens again." Daisy growled suddenly, ears perked, staring at the front window. Daniel grabbed his phone, heart pounding, but headlights swept the room, Maggie's Jeep. She stepped in, vet bag in hand. "Couldn't sleep, thought I'd check Daisy and keep watch." Relief flooded him. "You're a godsend, Mags." Weeks rolled by, Daisy's coat turning glossy, her pups growing fast, tumbling balls of fur with personalities blooming. Scout explored the nest's edges, Raven watched with dark, thoughtful eyes, Sunny wiggled into every lap, Thunder barked at shadows, and Pearl trailed Sophie like a second shadow. But the shadow of Slade loomed. A woman in a crisp suit showed up one afternoon, claiming to be from animal welfare, demanding to inspect the dogs. "All unlicensed animals need checking," she said, her smile too tight. Daniel refused without Maggie present, shutting the door. Tom and Maggie confirmed it was fake. No such agency sent surprise visits in sedans with tinted plates. "Slade's move," Tom said. "He's testing you. We need a trap." Tom laid out the plan over the kitchen table, a county map spread before them, Daniel, Maggie, Sophie, and Daisy listening as thunder chewed a corner. "We fake a trip, make Slade think you're gone, Daisy's vulnerable. He'll move, we'll catch him." Mrs. Evelyn agreed to hide officers in her trailer, baking cookies for cover. Even Carl, grumbling, "Let them rig cameras facing Daniel's lot. If it shuts those dogs up, fine." Daniel and Sophie packed the truck, suitcases, a cooler, chatting loudly about a lake trip within earshot of neighbors. Daisy stayed with Maggie as dog sitter, her presence routine. At the Clover Inn, Sophie clutched a stuffed shepherd Maggie had given her, whispering, "Daisy needs us." That night, she woke Daniel, eyes fierce. "We have to go back, she's in trouble." He couldn't argue. They drove home, arriving as Maggie faced Slade breaking in through the back door. Daisy, frail but fierce, lunged, pinning his arm till Tom's team swarmed, cuffs snapping on Slade's wrists. Evidence from his arrest, records, photos, tied him to fighting rings and Laura's crash, reopening her case as suspicious. Daisy's pups found homes over weeks, Scout to a hospital therapy program, Raven to a lonely vet, Sunny to foster kids, Thunder to a girl with anxiety. Pearl stayed, her white patch a mirror of Daisy's spirit. Months later, Daisy's heart failed, her final act saving them from Slade's arson attempt on their trailer. She died in Sophie's arms under a dawn sky. Peaceful, her mission done. "She's happy now," Sophie whispered, stroking her fur. "She's not sick anymore, she's running with mommy." A year on, Daisy's law passed, Sophie's testimony before lawmakers sealing it. At Daisy Memorial Park, her bronze statue stood guard, Sophie burying mementos, a ribbon, fur tufts, a photo, beneath an oak. "You found us, Daisy," she said, Pearl nuzzling her. "You brought mommy's love back." Daniel, Maggie his fiancée, and Aunt Clara, Laura's rediscovered sister, drawn by the news, watched, a family reborn. Daisy's fund, born from settlement cash, saved countless dogs, her legacy rippling through Clover County and beyond, a testament to love's enduring power. From Sophie and Daisy's journey, we learn that love and courage can shine through life's toughest storms, sometimes. It's the smallest hands and the weakest hearts that show us how to fight for what matters. Daisy taught us that even when you're broken, you can still mend others, and Sophie showed us that hope can grow from loss. What touched you most about their story? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I'd love to hear them. If this tugged at your heart, give it a like and share it with someone who needs a lift. Let's keep the love going, y'all.